With all the success you've had, do you still face, are you currently facing any fears, or are there fears about the horizon?
I have to give you amazing props. You're such a curious person about the people that you talk to. I love it. I love it, man.
Thank you.
The answer is, thank you. Are you kidding me? I've been on a ton of podcasts and people just same questions.
Welcome to the Idea Climbing Radio Show. Alessio, thank you for being here. I appreciate you making the time.
Thank you so much, Mark. I'm super excited to be here.
And I got to share some of your accomplishments. You were the marketing director for Mindvalley and scaled the business from 25 million to 75 million. And then you helped Tony Robbins, Jordan Peterson, and Marissa Peer with creating their entire marketing campaigns from funnels to ads, and even helped optimize our courses for completion. We'll talk about some coaching in a minute. And you're on a mission to change online education. For years, you've been working with the online education sector, leading the marketing team of Mindvalley. In this period, you've impacted more than 3 million students, generated more than $100 million in revenue for the companies you worked for or consulted with. That's amazing. I can't believe you found the time. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Mark. Super excited to be here. Wow, when you say like that, sounds like a lot of stuff. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about building and scaling a coaching business, bringing a big coaching idea to life. As far as the world of coaching and everything you've done, how did you get into it on that level? What's your story?
Well, frankly, my story is very random. Let me start with that. I was in university and I was at a conference in Russia, and Vishen, which is the founder of Mindvalley, came speak at that conference. And this was back in 2012, probably. And I saw him on stage and I said, hey, one day I'm going to work for this guy. That was literally where everything started. And then I did a few experiences, first working experiences. And I was always kind of stopped by the fact that Mindvalley was in Malaysia. And that was a big change for me. I didn't know if I wanted to do that. But after a few not happy working experiences, I say, you know what? Nothing to lose. Let's go to Malaysia. Let's start from there. I'm sure I'll find something I love there. And I started
What did you do when you got there?
I literally started as a project manager. It was the most basic roles that I could start with. And the cool thing is that then it just grew. It grew very well. And what I always say is that Mindvalley was and is an amazing playground. With the only difference is that I can discover all things about marketing there, playing with millions of people in the audience. So I have very big number to understand if something that I wanted to do will work or not. And obviously you are surrounded by incredible people that allow you to grow like crazy. And that's exactly what I did. I felt like a kid in the playground that I was trying to play with all the different toys. And these toys were simply launching a webinar or creating a chatbot or creating a new growth hacking process or creating different things. And I got very lucky. Every 6 months, I got a promotion. And in a few years, I was heading the marketing team, over 50 people, and growing the numbers that you were mentioning. It literally, I learned everything there. That was my story. Literally in 3 years, I went from the smallest project manager in the company to heading the marketing team. Yeah.
So where does a coaching, with everyone you've worked with from Tony Robbins on down, where does a coaching career begin even? How do you get it started? What would you tell people?
Well, it's interesting because it's like, I believe that we have had for probably the past 10 years, a lot of people that became coaches. And on a certain level, it's incredibly easy. You can go on Udemy, get a coaching certification for $10, and you're a coach. So the barrier of entry is incredibly low. On the other side, a lot more people use a coach. And they kind of understand it is like, hey, wait a second, actually, if I have a coach that will help me achieve my goals, I can actually do this much faster and much better. And so the market is definitely growing a lot from this point of view. and everyone is seeing exactly how this entire thing happens. Now, one of the major things that I think one of my clients taught me is that a lot of people enter the coaching world with the mindset of I want to help people, but very few enter the coaching world thinking I'm an entrepreneur. Because that's exactly the thing. Being a coach doesn't mean just coaching people. It means also doing marketing, doing content, making sure that you create that entire environment that allow you to create a coaching business, not just learning a coaching methodology. And that's something that I believe where there is a huge opportunity in the market, because the last 10 years have been fantastic to, popularize the concept of a coach, but has been a lot more difficult in terms of how do you actually make it as a coach? How do you scale your business as a coach? How do you generate clients? How do you generate revenues? And that's incredibly important. Yeah.
So what are some tips for becoming a good entrepreneur and not just a coach? Because I think you're right. People think I'm just going to do coaching sessions. It's like, there's so much more involved. How about that? What tips do you have for people to become entrepreneurs and not just, oh, I'm just going to do coaching sessions?
Look, the number one thing is for sure that you need to specialize yourself. And this is the classic things that say niche. You need to niche down into something very specific. Maybe 10 years ago, being a life coach was unique. Right now, there are hundreds of thousands probably of life coaches, and you need to be incredibly specific. You need to help a middle manager go to the next level of their career in the tech industry in London. Like, you need to be like super specific in order to be able to say, oh, this is exactly why I help, this is exactly the people that I want to work with, and this is exactly how I go. Now, the number one problem that I see whenever I work with clients and coaches is that most of all of them don't want to do it. They don't want to niche down. Because a lot of them enter because they're very curious of working with very different people and doing very different stuff. And the reframing that I try to tell them is like, okay, cool. Don't niche down per se, but at least create a campaign, a process, or something for that specific market. Maybe you could have 3 or 4 or 5 of them with different landing pages, different advertising, different content that goes to that specific target market. But if as a person I hear another time about another general coach that's going to solve my life, I'm going to puke. Because that's the reality. There's so many of them, and I don't think we don't need any more of this, right? But I'm an entrepreneur, and if there is a coach that helps entrepreneurs in the online education industry and in the agency market to go to the next level, I'm very interested about that, because that's who I am. If I hear about another coach that helps people, I literally don't even listen what they say. So I guess the more specific you can go and the more you can prove that you can actually be good at that, the better it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are there any niches you'd suggest that you see opportunity in more than other ones, or is it purely a self-decided thing that the coaches go through? What would you suggest for them? If there are any suggestions for niches?
Look, I think that, even if I have a lot of experience, if right now I will start coaching women in the nail tech industry, I probably wouldn't be the right coach, right, for them. What's really important is that there needs to be a very great match between who you are and what's your niche. There needs to be a hero's journey that you need to have gone through that resonate with those kind of people, and at the same time, there needs to be, I would say, you need to resonate with them. You need to grasp the major concept and be able to understand. And if you do have case studies that you already done in that specific industry, that helps a lot. And I'm saying this because let's imagine this. Let's go with the classic example of like, I did a coaching certification. I have my idea for a niche. I need to start. What do I do? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing is always great. If you are in a job, if you are in a business, if you are a leader, Great. Use those skills of coaching in your current role. That's the simplest thing that you can do to practice and become better at what you do. Then if you want to start helping people outside of that, you can also start going for free or charging a very minimum amount that you give to charity, right? And the entire idea is you say, look, I'm not charging anything because I want to practice and I want to make sure that I can get some case studies so that then I can get you to the next level in my business. And that's how you start. You start building your case studies. You start becoming very good at that. And then once you're able to get a few different case studies, once you're able to say, look, I helped these 5 people get to the next level and become from middle manager to senior manager in their companies. And I did that consistently in this market because I coached them. And the specific methodology that I use in my coaching is that I clarify what's their problem. I figure out, I help them become more confident. I then help them create a strategy of development plan. And in 6 months, all of them got a promotion. Then it's like, okay, now you're on to something.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have very clear case studies, you have very clear target market, you have a very clear process and methodology. And now it's very straightforward to go from there. And once you're able to do that, you're able to create a very strong marketing, explaining your process and methodology to work with people. You have a system that can generate clients for you. And potentially, if the system becomes very good and you become very good as a coach, you can start certifying other coaches in your methodology and then pass from being a coach to owner of a methodology, build online courses around that, training other coaches and passing to them your clients that you already that you can get with the coaching system that you created. And that's sort of the next level of the game, right? Where you can go from not just being a 6-figure coach, but really being a 7-figure business owner that is scaling up, right? Yeah.
If you get proof of concept, you get a few case studies. Say, where do you start with marketing? What do you do to scale a business and get going with marketing once you get the case studies done?
It's extremely important that you go one funnel, one channel. That's what I say. Like whenever you want to start your business, don't overcomplicate it. I've seen so many people that start saying, okay, I'm going to start a podcast and I'm going to do Instagram Reels and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And that's so much busy work. That's like, I'm super busy, I'm burnout, I'm stressed, I have no clients, nothing works. You try to do everything because you see, oh, Hormozing is doing this. Oh, my Tony Robbins is doing that. But it's just like, how can you compare yourself to Tony Robbins? You just started, right? You shouldn't do that, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is that when you are a new coach, you probably can handle maximum 10 clients a month, right? You don't need 3 million followers to handle that clients, right? What's really important to me is that you first of all understand who you are yourself and understand what can I actually be good at. And in some cases could be writing, in some cases could be interviewing people, in some cases could be doing videos, right? There are very different things you can do. There are other cases in which maybe you're a good marketer or you like to sell, right? And then in that case, maybe what you would want to do is that you would want to do an approach more on LinkedIn and reach out to people one-on-one and start to bring them on a call and try to close them, right? So there is a lot of different approaches, but I really believe that you need to look at what's your talent, what's the thing that you would like to explore, develop, and will feel like a passion to you. And I see a lot of people saying, oh, I need to do videos on Instagram, but I hate them and I'm burnout. And there's the thing that, well, maybe that's not your channel. Like, you don't need to have hundreds of clients. You don't need to generate a launch or millions of dollars that you need to have Instagram, right? And actually, a lot of huge launches happen without Instagram. So there is a lot of other ways, and you need to understand what's the perfect match for you. If we go back to the example of before, I'm looking for a middle manager in the tech industry in London, is Instagram the best place to find that? Not really, right? Probably is LinkedIn. And probably you need a more targeted approach specifically to that. Or maybe it's advertising. Advertising is the perfect channel if you have money and don't have time, right? So that's kind of what you would use in that specific case. So that's kind of what I always say. It's like once you find the right system and the right funnel that brings you calls and clients, then you find the right fit. So in the beginning, you need to really look for that and really figure out, look, if I'm a coach and I do coaching for 20 hours a week, and then the other 10 hours I will do marketing, and then other 10 hours I will do an admin. What something that in 10 hours of marketing I will be very excited to do. And don't get me wrong, for some people is Instagram Reels and building a very strong Instagram account. That's fantastic. If that's your talent, if that's what you love, go ahead and do it. But really match that with your skills, because yeah, it's so many times I cringe looking at my feed, seeing people that it's clear that they shouldn't do that and they do that, right?
Oh. And I have to ask the $1 million question, especially when you're getting going. How do you know how to price yourself? It seems to be so far across the board with pricing, especially with new-ish coaches. What do you suggest as far as pricing goes?
Look, I have chosen prices across, I don't know how many products, across I don't know how many industries. So I can tell you that there is so many different theories on how to price. Like you can look at the willingness to price, you can do a survey, you can look at competitors, you can do this, you can do that. But in reality, in the end, all the people choose the price by testing. As simple as that.
What was that? They choose the price by what?
By testing. As simple as that.
Oh.
You test a price against the other. How do you test? You jump on a call, you tell to someone this costs $3,000 for my coaching package, and then they will tell you, if they tell you yes too fast, that's probably too cheap. And then the next time you try 4,000, and the next time you try 5,000, the next time you try 10,000. And whenever you see that becomes a lot more difficult to close, that's probably when you will need to adjust. The reality is that obviously there is, whenever you go selling high ticket prices like these ones, there is a few other nuances in terms of how you sell. But overall, a lot of time is not really about the pricing. It's a lot more about the value that the customer believes that you can provide. And if they believe that you can literally get them to the next level, like let's go back in the example. If I'm a middle manager and I become a senior manager, that means that I get a salary bump of 25%, might be 20, 30K extra a year, and your coaching costs 10. That sounds a deal, right? I'll make back 20, 30 extra. I spend 10 for you. Sounds like a deal. If you bring me there, I'll do it. So that's to me like what's really important, right? The more you are able to price yourself against something else, and especially if you are able to transform this into something that not just valuable in terms of it's important to me, that's actually when you can attach a monetary value to that, that really changes everything. And you can charge a lot more in that case. Yeah.
So once you get established, let's say you replace a corporate income, where do you start and how do you scale a coaching business once you start making some money?
For sure, you want an automated system that generate clients for you. That's obviously where things start to scale a lot more, right? And the way to do it is, for sure, you need to build a funnel. You need to create a system that in a way or another, it gets clients for you. And this one can be done very simply. Like I know of a personal trainer that scaled his business to almost 500K a year simply by posting on Instagram, and then on the stories, simply share a before and after of his clients and say, do you want the same results? DM me. They were DMing me, he was closing in the DM, and that was the funnel. It was as simple as that. And obviously the funnel can get super complex. You can do a webinar, you can do a summit, you can do a multi-day challenge, you can create a lot more things. The reality is that a lot of time doesn't need to be, right? A lot of time needs to be, it could be a lot simpler. But it's very important that you figure out what's the perfect funnel that will work in your industry and that you're able to create something that scales. If you're able to scale through advertising, that's very interesting because that one gives you even more scalability. Now, if you need to scale through Instagram, you always need to do content. Especially in today's age, you need to do a reel a day if you want to be on the top of the game. With advertising, once you create the right system that scales for you and generate more revenues for you, you need to spend more money to create more people, right? To generate more clients. Yeah. And that's where the things get a lot more scalable. That's when you can start hiring other coaches under you to then manage your clients. That's where things can go a lot more at scale from that point of view. Yeah.
Well, advertising makes a lot of sense. And even if a coach has a little bit of money for advertising, when would you suggest they start? Because I would imagine if you're a newer coach, I would imagine advertising might not work because you don't have a client base yet. I mean, would that be correct? Or when would you suggest to test the waters, dip your toe in the water for advertising?
Advertising is always the place to go when you have more money than time. So if you're having a strong 6-figure job, you have a good money on the side, and you want to try to figure these things out fast, cool, you could do it. If you're pretty broke because you pay for your certification of coaching and you don't know how to move on from that, probably I wouldn't do it, right? So probably my suggestion would be, it always depends on where you are. But if, so in the case in which I'm a new coach and I'm broke, I will try to go a lot more with content, either on LinkedIn, either on Instagram. I will try to go a lot more on one-on-one. In the beginning, referrals is actually super great. And this is a very simple thing. It's like literally you go through your entire phone book and you simply say to your contact on your phone, and you simply say, hey, I actually started coaching people that are middle manager in the tech industry in London, and I help them get to the next level in their career. If you do know of anyone that could be interested in that, could you let me know about that? I'd love to have a chat with them and see if I can help them. You write this to all the people in your list. Some one of them will answer. Some of your friends or the people that you know might be interested in the service. Some other one will refer you people. As simple as that. That's literally where I will start if I have zero money. I need to do something and go. And this is a very interesting thing, right? Because a lot of coaches are afraid of sales, especially women, right? And a lot of time I'm talking with coaches that are struggling. I have no clients, I have nothing. And then I ask them, cool, how many people did you reach out the last week? And ask them if they want to jump on a call with you to see if they're interested in your service. And the answer is always 0, maximum 2, right? And it's like, well, if you're broke and your life depends on it, will you reach out to 0 people? Like, that's exactly the thing, right? It's like, it is a big part of that, right? And obviously, again, if you have an Instagram account, if you have a LinkedIn account, if you have a podcast, if you write, for example, you can do Instagram and writing. You can do beautiful carousel by writing, or you can do LinkedIn by writing. You can do Twitter by writing, right? So maybe if videos is not your thing, you can be great at writing, create beautiful things by writing, and go viral with that and get clients with that. So there is definitely a lot of opportunities also on the other side. You don't need to be in front of a camera to do that, but it's extremely important that you try to go as much as possible out there, start to producing content, start to producing opportunities so that you can start to reach out to people and you can get as many people as possible that you need in your market. So that's definitely what I would do in the beginning. And then at that point, when I got the first coaching clients, either through my contacts or either through referrals or either through LinkedIn or Instagram or writing or doing free local events, right? At that point, I will try to see, can I take this to the next level? Can I invest some of the money that I made on advertising to create more client on repeat? Can I create something that will allow me to go from that point of view? And then the other rule that a lot of people don't understand, and probably they do understand it, but they simply don't want to act on it because it's too simple, is whatever works, double down on that. Whatever doesn't work, stop it. It's just as simple as that. It's like, like talk with people. Sometimes the best ideas for your funnels comes exactly from that, right? It's like sometimes you talk with a person on a call and you mention a specific thing. When you mention that thing, they become a client. And then you do that another couple of times in another sales call and you understand, when I mention this thing that you want to grow your salary because you want to become a senior manager, and that's the key things that could allow them to then become a client, great. Then I can create a webinar on how to get your next promotion in 6 months. Okay, now you're getting into something because you took something that worked on a very small scale and you transform it into something that they work on a very big scale. Now you reverse engineer the methodology and what you did in the 6 months to help them get the promotion, and you create a methodology. Now this becomes a lot more scalable. Now you pass from being a single coach that's trying to figure out things by themselves with their friends to, I have a webinar, I have a methodology, I have an institute of coaching, I can create good advertising to generate people on that. I can create content around this methodology. I can use my testimonial and my case studies to show how many people I had with that. Now the things go to a whole different level. Now you pass from being this struggling coach to something that really works.
I would love to circle back to something that I know most entrepreneurs, but definitely coaches face, is that fear of selling. I'm not a salesperson. I don't like sales, but I have to do them. What would you suggest to help people get over that fear of selling that's so just out there in the industry?
Look, I think no one is born that they want to sell. I don't think that is something that comes natural to anyone, right? I think that is for everyone a bit of a stress to sell. But on the other hand, one friend of mine taught me this, is like, when you don't want to sell, you are being selfish. And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, well, you have a product, you have a talent, you have something that can help someone else. And the only thing, there's a distance between you having a strong talent that can change someone else's life and them being convinced about using that, is you selling. That's the only difference. That's the only distance. Once you bridge the gap of, okay, I overcome my fear of selling because I really want to make sure that I can share my gift of teaching you how to get your next promotion in your job, and I can improve your life, I can make you a better leader, I can make you more money, everyone here is going to be happier about that. The only thing between this dream outcome and the current situation is my fear of selling, then it's like, you're being selfish. If you really want to help the other person, get out there and talk with that person. So, and that was a very big shift for me. It's like, wow, selling is actually serving people. It's not being, like, obviously you don't want to be that person that goes there and try to push them into buying something that they don't want, right? Obviously, you want to make sure that it's like, look, this doesn't look like a match, no problem. But if on the other hand, there is someone that really wants a promotion and you have a great methodology that can help them get that promotion, it's like, what's the problem? You being shy? It's like, look, it's much more important for you to be able to bridge the gap and say, look, I really want to serve you. I really want to help you go to the next level. And I think that when your sales come from that point of view, point of service to the other, then it's also a very different approach. And that's, I think, that, what makes the difference. Maybe you might coach people on how to improve their fitness. You might coach people on how to improve their marriage. You might coach people on how to date more women. You might coach people on, how to be more mindful or how to go out of anxiety. All of these things, you're just selfish if you don't want to share it with the world, right?
Yeah.
It's so hard to create this talent. I don't know how many years you might have worked to improve someone's marriage. Probably you study 5 years, something around that. And you don't want to go out and tell to people, look, I really can help you. Let's just work a bit together and I'll show you, right? It's just as simple as that, right?
So once a coach gets established, you touched on a couple things, but I'm really curious if you could unpack scaling a little more. Do you suggest raising prices, duplicating yourself, licensing your stuff, switching over to online courses? What do you, from your experience, what have you seen and what would you most suggest for when a coach says, I'm doing good, but now I need to scale? What would you tell them to do?
So let's say this, if we look at a 7-figure business for a coach, usually looks like this. You might still have some very premium client that you serve on one-on-one. And then you might have either a certification where you certify other people to become coaches of your methodology, or you might have a high-level group coaching that costs a few $1,000s. Then you might have an online course that you can take as a self-paced that might cost $500. Then you might have a book that you've wrote on that methodology. And then you might have at the bottom a free lead magnet. Now, what's very interesting is that this entire thing is named the value ladder. It basically means that there are different value points that people get along your ladder. And if someone follow you on Instagram, they get your free content. If they follow you for a while and they're like, look, this guy is pretty smart, let me see a bit more what they say. Hey, he has these $10 books, let me get it. And then they get into more of that. And then they're like, hey, this book comes with a course so that I can do the exercises and go a lot deeper on that. Let me buy this $500 course. And then it's like, look, this is really great. And I really want to coach people in that. I'll go in the certification. And then it's like, this guy is great. I want to be coached one-on-one by them. I'll pay $10,000, $20,000 to be coached one-on-one with them. I'll go. That's usually the entire thing that happens. Now, the problem is that a lot of people are very confused on what comes first.
Yes.
What comes first is like, great, I'm a coach, I coach people one-on-one. What's my next step? Should I write a book? Should I do a course? Should I do? And unfortunately, the complex part is that it depends. Depends a bit on the different kind of businesses, right? And fundamentally, it also depends on the methodology and the things that you're using, right? For simplicity, let's go with the example we were saying before, right? I help middle managers to get their next promotion, right? So you can create a certification to create other coaches. You can create a course to help middle manager to take their next promotion, and you can write a book about that, right? Now, in this case, probably I will try to go always from the top, and then I will try to go lower and lower and lower. So I will start with the certification, then I will go with the course, then I will go with the book. The reason why I would want to do this is because in the beginning of your business, you need more margins, right? And the reality is that the more you can sell a higher ticket item, the more you can get margins. And Mark, you wrote a book. I'm sure you didn't get rich from the book. And unless you're J.K. Rowling, probably you are not really
Yeah, they're not licensing my book for a movie anytime soon.
Exactly. A book is a great way for someone to take your message in a cheap way and to kind of build a very strong relationship with you. It's not a way to get rich, right? Now, on the other hand, there are coaches that they're like, you know what? I don't want to certify people. I don't want to do a high ticket. I want to go through a very different road. And what they do in that case is that they say, I coach some people one on one, but what I want to do is that I want to write a book, I want to do a big TED talk, and I want to become a speaker. And I want to speak on my topic. That's fine. It's a different business model. Okay. There are some cases, and there are some people, I don't know, look at Simon Sinek, look at Mel Robbins, look at, there are a lot of people that don't sell courses, that don't sell things, they just create another system. The entire point there is that you want to have as many eyeballs as possible, because in the speaker business, you can charge a lot more if you have a lot more followers, if you have a lot more, if you sell a lot more books. And what becomes interesting there is that, yeah, it becomes a game a bit of popularity at that point of view. While if you create a coaching business and with certification stuff, that's a lot more on revenue, right? So it's a bit of a different game that you want to play at that point, and that you need to understand exactly what would you like to do. And if I look someone like Mel Robbins, she popularized a few different theories like the 5-second rule. She does something that's very simple, but applied to literally 99% of the population. And she goes viral with an Instagram. She speaks in an incredibly large audience. She's a great speaker. She writes every few years a book that become a bestseller, and that's a fantastic business model. She doesn't sell one course, right? You can do that. It's a different type of business, and it's important to understand what's your business model. But in most cases, coaches have this kind of two business models. Yeah.
We have covered a lot of ground in a short period of time. When it comes to bringing a big idea of a coaching business to life, it could be reiterating something you've said or touching on something new. If you were to say, above all, at least do this one thing, at least please do this, what would you tell people to do when it comes to coaching, building a coaching business?
Well, in the early stage or later?
Let's say earlier stages. What would you say?
In the early stage, to me, the number one thing is case studies. It's like it's really almost impossible for a coach to take off without any case study. I really feel that really makes a difference. And the other thing is really get away from your fear of getting out there. That's blocking you so many times. It's blocking your potential, right? If you really work with someone and see such incredible results, and then you are not able to create more results because you're afraid of sharing the content or because something, that's very difficult. That's very difficult. You have a gift that you're not using, right? And that's something that I believe that
That is
yeah.
excellent advice. And if people want to find you online, where's the best place or places to go?
So LinkedIn is where probably you can find me a lot more active. My name is Alessio Pieroni, so you just search there and you'll find me on LinkedIn. Or the agency that I own, it's named Scale for Impact. You can go to scaleforimpact.co, and that's where you can find us.
Thank you so much, Alessio. This has been great.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mark.
And scene. Thank you for tuning into the Idea Climbing radio show today. I really appreciate it. I hope you got something great out of it that you can take into your own life and use to be better in your own life. If you want more great shows like this, go to 216thenet.com. You want to see more of my interviews, radio show, and podcast? Go to markjcartertv.com. Again, that's markjcartertv.com and 216thenet.com. Hope to see you on one of those platforms, or maybe even